Welcome to the Plant Cunning Podcast,
where we explore our relationship to plants, other people, and the mysteries of nature.
Coming to you from the high Allegheny Plateau in central New York.
We are your hosts, A.C. Stauble
and Isaac Hill. Welcome to another episode of the Plant Cunning Podcast. Today we have medical herbalist and author Wendy Dooner on the show, and this is a fantastic conversation. We talk with her about how she got into herbalism from a very scientific, medical perspective, and then how she transitioned into plant spirit herbalism. And I think you're going to really enjoy this episode. Before we get too far, I do just want to say that I'm still offering a Dog Days deal for my Vedic astrology readings. It's $80 for 60 minutes, and you can schedule a reading with me by emailing me at info@plantcunning.com or plantcunning@gmail.com. And AC is beginning her Actea Institute journey. We're having a summer herb retreat next week. If you want to check out that, there are still some options for camping, and I think maybe one room still available, and that's at actea.org. We're also signing up people for the full diploma course, which is an online course on herbalism and aromatherapy, which starts in September. You can find info for that at actea.org as well. Okay, I hope you enjoy the episode. So today on the Plant Cunning Podcast, we are excited to have Wendy Dooner on the show, and Wendy is a medical herbalist and an author from the UK, and you've recently written a book, Plant Spirit Medicine, which is very exciting. And you've got a lot of, you're right up our alley. You're as we were saying before we started, it's the whole package, the herbalism, just working with the plants, the science, the spirituality, kind of all the aspects, which is what we like as a holistic plant practitioner, plant medicine practitioner. So,
and the book is Plant Spirit Herbalism.
Plant Spirit Herbalism. Yeah. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. I'll add that. Plant Spirit Herbalism. Sorry.
Oh, thank you for having on. I'm just so excited to be here, genuinely.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. So our first question is, what brought you to the plant path?
That's the opener, hey? And I bet you get a very similar answer. Like, there's a very long story. And there's kind of a short story, and it's not a straight line.
Yeah.
Yes.
But my particular story was when I was 17, I was getting ready to leave school. What am I going to study? And I was looking at nursing. I loved looking after people, caring for people. But my father was like, it's a bit mainstream. It's a whole other story. There's this course just opening up called Herbal Medicine, running at our local university. Do you want to check that out? And at that point, I didn't really know about herbal medicine, but I thought, sounds interesting. I'm trying to please my father at this point in my life. I'd not done any therapy yet. And then I commenced this 4-year Bachelor of Science degree, which I loved. I loved the deep, nerdy phytochemicals, pathophysiology, really breaking down the herbs into their constituents. And I graduated and I did what herbalists were taught to do. I opened up my practice. I saw what I called them patients at that time. Mm-hmm. No longer call them patients, to call them people, clients. And that suited me really well for about 15 years. And then in my mid-30s, I'd achieved what I was told I had to achieve. I had the house, I had the car, I had the husband, I had a child, but I was just kind of a bit empty. I thought, surely there's something a bit more to life than this. And then the plants called me back. I was still working with them, but in a very extractive way. Lists of herbs that we used for this, that, and the next thing. There was nothing beyond the tangible. Certainly not working with them. I used them, and I use those terms on purpose. And then I spoke to an oak tree, an oak tree spoke to me, and I had this awakening when I thought, I'm either losing my mind or I'm finding my mind.
Oh.
And my sister was training in shamanism at that point, and she really grounded me in this. This is an opening. This is the plants calling you back. And she guided me through the process. And then there was a few other plants. There was Primrose, there was Hawthorn, there was Elder, and they're just slowly, like that fishing rod, just reeling me back in. And then I did an advanced shamanic practitioner training, which I never intended to combine. I just did it because I thought, here, this is interesting. I wanted to know more about what was beyond this physical, tangible world. 4 years of that, and then I graduated, and the herbs were like, you need to combine us. You need to combine what you've learned, how to access the spirit and the non-ordinary into the physical. And it was hard. It was actually really hard. I had to give up a registration for a mainstream herbal medicine, like a registration in the UK, because I couldn't use the word shamanism and herbalism in the same
Oh.
title. I had to practice them separately, and I wasn't willing to do that. I
Mhm.
still have my insurances, and it's voluntary. You don't have to. You can still practice as a herbalist in the UK as long as you have your qualifications, your continual professional development, and your insurance. So it was quite the leap to move from that professional, you've got the certificate, to I'm out here on my own. And at that point, I didn't really know people like Josh Williams and Pam Montgomery who had already walked it, and many, many others who'd walked this path before me. I only found out about them later. So it
Uh-huh.
was really the plants called me back, starting with oak. And now here I am. And I combine science and magic and spirit. And it's just like taking a shit. It's just so ordinary and so normal. And I can't
Mhm.
imagine that I was anything else, but here we are.
Yeah. How did
Yeah.
that oak reach out to you?
Here it was. I was at a music festival and I don't take drugs and I don't drink, so I was completely sober. And
Mhm.
but I was overwhelmed. I was kind of anxious. I was out of my comfort zone and
Yeah.
I need some help. I was walking around. I just felt a bit, like a ship without an anchor, a bit like out at sea. And I
Mm.
heard the oak as if they were standing next to me.
Uh-huh.
Please come and sit under me. I'm going to keep you safe.
Oh.
And I still, even thinking about that moment, I get goosebumps. And I sat for the rest of the weekend pretty much under that oak tree. And still to this day, oak. And the medicine of oak's never been subtle for me. Kind of like the physical medicine, it like cracks you open, but it also
Yeah.
heals you back up again.
Mhm.
So, yeah, oaks, and it doesn't often happen that way. Plants don't speak to me verbally often. It does happen. But yeah, it was a real, this is the only way you're going to listen. You're not listening to my subtle messages. I'm going to need to come and shout right in your face.
Yeah. Wild. That's so sweet. I love it when the plants just like reach out and are reminding us that they're there for us in that way. It's so
Yeah,
special.
yeah. And so willing, you
Hmm.
know. I'm always struck by how, regardless of the way that we treat them or we think about them, they're always so willing and forgiving.
Yeah, they are.
Just,
Absolutely.
it only takes us reaching out respectfully and they're there waiting
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I also loved how you described how it's so natural for you to incorporate the spiritual and the shamanistic side of plant healing into the way that you practice. And I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit more to like the differences of like before what your practice looked like and now. Like what are some of the key things you're noticing?
That's a really great question. Ultimately, the outcomes are different. I feel the depth of change. Previously, we would work on physical health, of course, and it sometimes would expand out a little further into emotional health. But I was just, you come here with endometriosis or, Raynaud's something, and we work as well as we can, and then they get resolution or they don't sometimes, and then they move on. And that's great. That still has its part to play. But now in practice, I still do that. I still do a really in-depth physical top to toe consultation, but I also expand the boundaries of what brought the person to this space and place. So we look at, what's their community like? What is their support like? Is there any ancestral patterns that we're noticing? What is in the more sort of subtle energetic fields that's impacting your physical health? And what I've found is, I guess, the most important difference is people become, or they're given back control of their own health. They're like, this is not me doing it. This is them examining themselves, held by the herbs. So we go way deeper, and as well as a physical herbal preparation, we also do homework. We do ritual, we do ceremony, we do shamanic journeys. I don't call them shamanic journeys anymore. I call them plant spirit journeys, but
Hmm.
you know, a spade's a spade. That's what it is.
Mm.
And so we're not only getting physical transformation, we're getting transformation rippling out to other areas of their lives which they didn't necessarily come for support with, but it just happens as part of that whole package. And I've found that when I work with people in this way, they stay for longer and the transformations are more embedded because we're starting to really look at some of the patterns that have brought them to this point. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's a lot of like pattern recognition in the work of like what plant people do, I guess. Um, whether it's out foraging physical plants or seeing patterns in the physical
Yeah.
body or seeing patterns in the ancestral and familial lines.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. We get good at that pattern recognition.
Right? And you just sort of see them everywhere. It's just,
Yeah.
when you buy a new car and suddenly that same car, everybody's got the
Yeah.
same car as me. It's just like when you start to notice, you're like,
Yeah,
whoa, yeah, it's really interesting.
it is.
Yeah, and it's also very important to, I mean, so physical medicine, there's certain things that herbs or pharmaceuticals or other physical medicines can help people with that are just purely physical problems. But yeah, when there are those like patterns of behavior that are causing the physical problems, addressing those is a little bit more involved. You
Mm.
can't just give somebody this, this
One
medicine,
solution,
one
yeah.
one thing, one physical thing. But though sometimes I feel like by even working with a plant in a tincture or a dried form,
Mm.
there's a way to work with the spirit too. Do you find have you at this point, looking back, do you find like you were working with the spirit before you started consciously working with the spirit, or was it?
That's Yes, yes, Isaac,
Yeah.
you've totally nailed it. You've totally nailed it there. That I had been working unknowns to me, the plants had really been working energetically with me and with the people that I worked with. Look, and only in hindsight I realised that, but it took the oak to open me up consciously to that. And when I look back at some of the synchronicities, it felt like they were leading me to this point. I almost feel like it wasn't my choice. I felt like the plants guided me to this place and space and time so that I could tell their stories and connect them with other humans in a way that's really grounded and easy to access. Because that's kind of how I like to live my life and how I like to support other people. So yeah, absolutely. This was bubbling away in the background like a little cauldron for
Huh?
some time before. And I was raised in a spiritual family and an open-minded family. So, you know, that my way of rebelling was going deep science. That's why I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with the intangible and the woo-woo,
Oh,
nothing, give me constituents, give me
yeah.
chemicals.
Hmm.
But it was there in my bones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
And I think sometimes, um, having that ground, like being grounded in the science and in like that empirical side of things, um, it it makes the spiritual side that much more powerful, because I think sometimes people can go off into into the ethers
Yeah.
and not have a tether
Yeah,
to to the to what's really going on in the real world. And
which can
sometimes, yeah,
also not be helpful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But how do you incorporate science and the spiritual, like, or how do you think about that now that you've had a little taste of, both?
Yeah, and what was really interesting, what you said was like, what's it like now? Because we know that it's going to change. Like, I'll look back in 10
Yeah.
years and I'll have a different view on
Yeah.
it, no doubt.
Right.
I, initially when I first started to weave these two things together, I really felt they were separate, and I felt in a way that they cancelled each other out, or I had to choose. I was like, I'm either science or I'm spirit. I
Uh-huh.
can't be both. It was a very black and white way of thinking. But now, it, I genuinely don't differentiate between the science and the spirit. For me, I'm looking at this prism,
Mhm.
many different facets, but it's the same rock. I'm
Yeah.
just looking at it from different angles.
Ooh,
It took me a while to get there, but I genuinely don't see any division
love it.
between the science and the spirit.
That's
Yeah,
a really cool way to think about it. The prism.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense too. Like, because even just going back to like there are certain physical problems that are just physical problems. Like, say you have a cut on your hand or something,
yeah.
but there's still like patterns of like why you got into that, why you had that kind of accident, why you
Why
cut
did you have it
yourself.
on your
You
hand?
rushing? Are you like,
Yes, yeah.
But 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 also with most other problems, they're a lot more complex than that. Most health problems, and the physical side is just the one facet that you're seeing, but there really are all these other facets going on too.
Yeah, yeah, so many facets. And I think initially when I graduated as a herbalist, I could get really tripped up. And where do I start? Where do I start with this? Like, and now I just start with what's most important to you at this time. Like what, pick one thing and just know that we will look at that thing, but we're also going to do the foundations. Like we're going to do the stress and HPA axis. We're going to look at any of the little drivers, but just pick one thing and then the next thing and then other things drop away. Just having the trust in that process. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, okay. So when you're working with a client, you start with like what is coming up most strongly in that moment, and then you kind of tease on that thread.
Yeah, yeah. Or how do you want to feel? Like how do you want to feel? If you imagine yourself a year from now, what thing would be most important? Like what can we remove now? If you had a magic wand and you can remove one thing from your, the health issues, what would it be? And sometimes I have to say, look, we can't get there right away. This is
Hmm.
going to be step 2 or 3, but this is how we get there. I'm very clear. I step it out for them, write it down in a timeline. So yeah, I'm just like, what is most important to you? Let's work on that. And then you know yourself as you go through this process with people, they go, oh, no, actually, wait, this is more important. And so then we can maybe just switch track a little bit. But we're all, you know what herbs are like. It's never just the one thing. It's always sort of working in the background on all the other sort of different areas that they've got going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes they, reach one goal and then you look back on their chart and you talk to them and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot that was even an issue for me.
Right. I love that. I love that. I had this very thing yesterday. I had a client, she had
Really?
vestibular migraines, insomnia, super heavy periods, and we've been working together for coming up for 6 months. And I
Hmm.
was just reviewing her case and I was like, how are your migraines going? And she went, Wendy, I don't remember the last time I had one.
Oh,
Oh,
great.
and I'm sleeping the night through. We keep in touch regularly, but she'd forgotten. Of
Yeah.
course, that's the human nature is to forget these things, and that's a good thing. So we're not
Yeah.
burdened by the past knowledge of what our bodies were like. But
Yeah.
I just love it. It's so exciting to me when people forget where they
Uh-huh.
were. Because I don't know about you, but you often find people get despondent when they feel like things are not moving quickly enough. And you
Yeah.
just take a moment to go, here, look, I know we're not quite where you want to be yet, but look
Hmm.
at how, even just a little change, what big impact that has had. So it's
Yeah.
just, I'm all about small steps. I don't like massive transformations or blasts or
Mm.
like, I don't know, yeah, those things that can be hard to maintain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. If something was a pattern that dysregulated you for months or years, it's not going to be a day or weeks that fixes it. It might be months or years.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are spontaneous healings that happen. I mean, the plants are amazing. The ancestors are amazing. Like spirit can fix a pattern quickly, but that's not the norm. It's like more rare.
Yeah, for sure, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the slow gradual change, sometimes it can be hard to see the change
Yeah,
actually happening while
yeah,
you're in it.
yeah. It's like watching your kids grow, right? I don't know about your or like your plants or your dogs. You look back on old photographs and you go, oh, what? And
Yeah.
because you're with them or the plant or the condition all the time, you become blind to it.
Hmm.
And then it just takes us to say, hey, you're actually doing really well. It's
Right.
okay. It's okay to feel the way you're feeling, but just know that you have made steps forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I guess that's one good thing of keeping a journal. We're consulting with uh some an herbalist, some practitioner
Yeah.
I'll keep
regularly
track.
over
Yeah.
a period of time.
Yeah, we're going to write it all down. Hey, we're going to record it all, even if you forget, we don't.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing it objectively.
So for your practice now, so you see clients,
Yes.
and what else do you do in your days? I know you were teaching classes this morning. Do you want to talk about, yeah, like what else you do as an herbalist and
Yeah,
shamanic practitioner?
yeah. Because it's like really interesting. You can wear many hats as a
I
herbalist. It's not
know.
necessarily practicing in clinic, and I think that very few of us actually do actively practice. So what I do, there's a few different things. So I volunteer at my local community garden. I run their herb program there. We do
Nice.
health walks. We do foraging. We do herb making. We're trying to expand into areas nearby where people wouldn't necessarily think to look to herbal medicine, sort of deprived areas that, you know, nature is for them a luxury, not a
Mm.
necessity. So trying to just shift that focus for them.
And where are you again for our listeners?
So I'm in Kirriemuir, which is in sort of, if you're in Scotland, it's like halfway up on the east coast.
Okay.
It's rural, it's farmland,
Hmm.
it's agricultural. So there is a fair amount of poverty here actually, but there's also a fair amount of green space and openness to nature. So I do that. I run an online membership called the Green Women's Circle, where we have women in community and we learn about one herb every month through various means, through tea ceremonies, through rituals, through making herbs, and then we talk through health issues. Then outside workshops I teach as well, and then I've got my practice. I, on purpose, have a small number of clients because the way I practice is quite in depth,
Hmm.
and not everybody's ready or willing to engage with me in that process, and that's okay. And then I'll refer them to a more traditional type herbalist.
Hmm.
So yeah, I volunteer at a community garden growing herbs. I run workshops. I have an online membership, and I've got a clinic, and I'm a full-time mum, and
Yeah,
yeah, many hat wearers. It's just,
I know. And you wrote a book.
oh yeah, thanks for bringing that up, AC. I did, and an author. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
why you're here.
I
I did.
remember
I
everything.
wrote a
No.
book, Plant Spirit Herbalism. So that's
Oh.
really looking at plants for the full title is Plant Spirit Herbalism, working with herbs for inner transformation, something like
Mhm.
that. It's
Mhm.
basically how can we weave these herbs into our daily life without having to go and meditate in a mountain for a month to have real tangible change
Mhm.
and working at a step by step basis. And then I'm also writing another book that which will be out next year, but it's more plant spirit consciousness. It's working with plant spirit both in what we call non-ordinary reality, but looking at the science of plant intelligence in this realm. So it's just like right up my street because I love the science and I love the spirit and I love that I get to weave them together to get people really
Mhm.
excited about nature.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So you're kind of jumping off from where Stephen Herod Buhner kind of left a little
I
bit.
mean, I don't really want to put myself up with
Yeah.
him because he's just like this pinnacle, but certainly like walking the path that he has so amazingly paved. That
Mhm.
yeah, what a
Mhm.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about the book. What prompted you to write it, and what do you get into in this book?
I mean, if I'm being honest for the listeners or the watchers, if you're watching this back, I had never intended to write a book
Hmm.
at this point in my life. I thought I'm a 40-something-year-old woman. What can I possibly add to this that hasn't already been written about by many other wonderful herbalists? And then I got approached by a publishing company to write a book. And then Hierophant Publishing, an amazing company in the US, that are self-help style books. And my first initial thought was, no, I can't write a book. But then I'm all about grabbing this opportunity. I thought this
Right.
doesn't come around often. I'll say yes and I'll panic later. I'll work
Uh-huh.
out like how to make this work later. That seems to be the ethos of my life. I will accept an opportunity if I feel like it's right and I'll
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
the details out later. I don't believe in just waiting until it's perfect because then it never comes.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
Yeah, and so that was last year, and then I only had 4 months to get the first draft in, but something
Oh,
happened. I just got this download from the plants that I work with, and I was up early mornings, and it
right.
was through school holidays, it was through a house move, like we were talking about
What?
earlier, like it all seems to come at once for
Yeah,
me. And
yeah.
I'm not the only one like that. Life is just kind of, but the plants just held me through that process. And Yo-Yo Ma, the cellist, beautiful
Oh,
musician. Yeah. I just loved the cello. And
Yeah, me
so it
too.
took me 4 months and it's out. It came out in April in the States, it came out in May in the UK and the rest of the world. And it's kind of like it's strange to say it, but it doesn't feel like mine anymore. Not in a bad way, but in a this is the message and it's out there and people can connect with it if they want to. But I'm really proud of it. I'm
Mhm.
really, excited and I love the final product because I grew up and we had nothing growing up. We grew up in like below the poverty line. We moved so many times, to try and whatever, outrun debt, or it was never a nice, let's move house. And so to come from that to here, I'm just really grateful to the plants for allowing me genuinely to be
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Amazing.
I think does that answer your question? Sorry, sometimes when I start to talk, just, you know, just
It's
keep going.
the whole point of this
No.
podcast
Yeah.
is to just hear people
Talk.
talk
Yeah.
and go on tangents and stuff.
Mm.
We can, yeah. But yeah, what else? Like, I guess Isaac asked like what you get into in the book too. So
Oh,
like,
yeah,
maybe some of the stuff that you write about to tell
yeah.
our listeners.
So the book is split up really into seasons, so I work seasonally. So we work with, there's 3 herbs per season, and there is sort of a ceremony, a spiritual way to connect with the herb. Then we work out, what can we make with this herb, like a tincture or a tea or an elixir or an electuary. And then before that, I go into there's 2 basic ways that I really introduce herbs to people. It is through the sensory tea ceremony. So really getting people to connect with their bodies first as a bridge to understanding the medicine. So we take them through that. And then from there, we go through the plant spirit journey. I take them through that step by step, how to do it. And there's a appendix at the end of, how to open space safely, how to journey safely, what you might come up against. So I teach those 2 practices in the book. And all of the information on each herb is kind of like choose your own adventure. Even though I'm telling you how to make, say, a mullein infused oil, you can work with that with any herb.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, what are the challenges in winter, physically and mentally and emotionally? What are the challenges in summer? So really grounding it in the person's experience wherever they are. And it's also kind of like, what do I need to know right now? It's not an oracle deck, but it's like, okay, what message do I need to hear? Just flicking open to the page and just reading. Okay, oh great, nice to see you, Rosemary. And it's
Yeah.
12 of my, and I only chose 12. My publisher was like, Wendy, this we can't make this as big as you want. This is how many words you have, and it was the hardest
Yes.
job. It's like choosing your favorite children. Of
Hmm.
Yeah,
course, you're
yeah.
not meant to say you've got a favorite child, but
Right.
yeah,
So
Well,
Rosemary made the cut though.
Rosemary made the cut. Rosemary
Yeah.
always makes the cut for
Yeah.
me. In fact,
Yeah.
Rosemary was who I was working with this morning, with tea ceremony and a journey to the spirit of Rosemary for remembering the wisdom that we carry from our ancestors. So Rosemary, there is burdock, and there's so many lemon balm,
Mhm.
elder.
Mm,
Yeah,
gotta have elder.
yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
so how do you work with Rosemary? What's your process and what is Rosemary? What are the gifts of Rosemary?
How do we have another day to chat
Yeah.
about rosemary? So
Right.
rosemary is one of those herbs that I work with in so many different forms.
Uh-huh.
So first and foremost, probably the how I work with rosemary most often personally and professionally is smoke cleansing.
Mm,
So smoke cleansing myself, my office, teaching people how to make their own smoke bundles for their own medicine. Because we
Yeah.
know that when we burn aromatic herbs, that it not only cleanses the energetic body, but it cleanses their physical space. There's really
yeah.
no
Yeah.
research for that. So probably smoke cleansing is the key way that I work with rosemary. Then we do a little bit in tea, but not everybody likes the flavour. So
Mhm.
probably in terms of my practice, it's in tincture form, just in small amounts.
Yeah.
Just depending, nervous issues, depletion, so many different areas for rosemary. So there's that, there's smoke cleansing and flower essence. I work with rosemary flower essences as well. That's another sort
Mhm.
of thing I do. I make my own flower essences. Sorry, just got something in my nose.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
What is it? What does the rosemary flower essence bring forth mainly?
I'm really happy you asked that question because this is how I answer, right? So it depends on the person working with rosemary in my experience. Of course, there are a few universal understandings of what rosemary brings. So, for somebody working with the energetic essence of rosemary, we're talking about protection, we're talking about cleansing.
Mhm.
So how I point to people, so people can sometimes be, Wendy, it's just how to understand what the spirit medicine of this is. And I say, look, what does it do in the body? What impact does it have in the body? And then we can expand that into the spirit medicine. So it is antimicrobial, it's anti-inflammatory, so it's soothing, it's cleansing, and it's also deeply protective for many parts of our body. So it's that. So we look at it in that way. Probably ancestral work as well. People who are looking to heal familial or ancestral issues, or just looking to connect with what came before. That comes
Yeah.
really strongly through with rosemary. Rosemary for remembrance, hey?
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rosemary for remembrance.
yeah.
It's one of my favorite smells. Just
Right.
so
I love it.
grounding.
I've just got some here. I'm just, and this morning when I went to my workshop, I have a rosemary in a pot, and
Yeah.
she was just, right next to me, strapped in the front seat, like just my passenger.
I love
Right.
herbalists so much. Just like them
Right.
driving around with their potted plants and
Just on a road trip with my one of my besties.
it's
But
just so real. It's so
Yeah.
real.
I guess people who can really talk to plants really like get the good get the words in their heads, playing like the license plate games with their
With their rosemary.
rosemary plant.
Yes.
Noticing things. I spy with my little eye.
Yeah. Suddenly I can see very clearly.
Right.
Feeling
Yeah.
feeling very focused.
Right. Very
Yeah.
focused. Yes.
That'd be fun if you playing like road games with the plant. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
The way to pass a long drive.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. But this is also like you talked a little bit about it, I think in your book and when we were emailing each other about re-enchanting your life. And so
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like playing road games with Rosemary and just daily practices for, incorporating magic and enchantment in your life. So I'm wondering if you want to speak a little bit to that.
Yeah. And again, I love that you brought this point up because I think as adults, most of us, or a lot of us, have this just the mental load is so much.
Right.
We've got so much to do. There's not a lot of space for joy, and there's not a lot of space for joy and frivolity.
Yeah.
But often in clinic, I will prescribe play and I will
Mhm.
prescribe joyful activity. Sometimes it takes a while for people to get there, but
Mhm.
they don't know how to play. They've forgotten.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, what happens when people start to even connect with the cup of coffee that they're drinking in the morning or their
Mhm.
cup of black tea
Mhm.
and really feeling how it feels in their body, it's joyful. It's kind of like, oh, I didn't know that I could get all of this from a cup of coffee. And it's orienting people to detail again, and then also orienting them to nature and outside, but in a way that's accessible. Because and I always come at it from my own perspective. I'm a very busy human. As much as I would love to go on a week-long retreat with herbs, that's not available for me, and it's not available for a lot of the people that I work with. But I recommend sitting even for 2 minutes each day and really paying attention to the tea that they're drinking, or even, it doesn't even have to be the tea, the food that they're eating, and
Mhm.
really bringing that sense of wonder back in. Wow, I feel this way after this. This plant, I can start to, when people start to learn what the plants are, I don't know about y'all, but you'll see this like excitement. And still to this day, when I walk around the corner and I see a herb that I've not seen for a while, I'm just like, oh, St.
Yes.
John's wort
Yes.
or
What's
whatever.
up? Yeah.
It's so exciting. And people find that through herbs. It's a deeply joyful, simple experience. And I am all about the spirit is not, for me, the spirit is not separate from the daily life. It is part of it. And we do that through paying attention.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, paying
Yeah,
attention.
paying attention is how
Yeah.
you can totally re-enchant your
Yeah.
life. Like
Yeah.
little kids are paying attention to so many details
Right.
that we miss, and we can
Yeah.
learn so much from the way they interact with
Yeah.
their surroundings.
And even like you're walking down a street and you smell something beautiful and it's like a rose, you're like just like, and you go on a treasure hunt to
Mhm.
find that. You smell elderflower. Oh, there's an elder tree around here somewhere. So that's what we're
Yes.
teaching. We're teaching that real joy and
Mm.
treasure hunt is what it is, I think.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
like that it's paying attention and tied to the sensations,
Yes.
because it is attention is kind of like the commodity of this time. With the social media, with the phones, with everything, it's like your attention is always being
Yeah.
jerked around.
Yeah.
Um, so you're always paying attention to something, but it's usually not always something that you would want to. But
Mm,
the
true.
by focusing the attention on like the sensations that are arising like
Yeah.
from your experience, I think that's a really great way to connect with the experience and with the spirit of of whatever entity, whatever plant, or even yourself. If you're focusing on the sensations internally, like
Yeah,
that is
it's like
that
the
is.
body is a bridge. It's like the body is a bridge. It helps you really, because a lot of us need that tangible
Mhm. Yeah.
aspect before we can really connect with the spirit. So that real like, okay, here's the physical medicine, and this is the bridge of what comes next. So we access it through our physical body, and then it's felt, and then you really remember. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So do you have a question or okay, so one of the other things that I wanted to ask you about was you work with a lot of women in their midlife, like perimenopause in your practice, and it's there's a lot of women who are going through perimenopause right now, like, just the in my world. And yeah, I'm just curious how plant spirit medicine can be useful for that particular group of people.
Yeah. And it's really big in my world right now. I'm personally going through it. I'm at that age where a lot of my friends are going through it.
Yeah.
I think ultimately what plant spirit herbalism and plant spirit wisdom can give women and people with wombs at this point
Mhm.
is both an anchor when everything's changing,
Yeah.
and it gives you comfort when it's different, when your world no longer looks like it used to, and your resilience is no longer what it was. You're not yet who you're going to become. You're in the middle. You're literally in the middle of a storm, as it were. And so plants will give you that anchoring, will give you that light ahead, will give you a frame of reference, and will gently hold you through that experience, whether you're working with the herbal tea or you're communing in a meditative sort of spirit journey way. And it's not one herb, I have to say. I work with many herbs for this, but it definitely is that making sense of what's going on for the person when they don't actually know what is going on, what way's up or what way's down. And
Yeah.
the other thing that herbs, they don't really care if you what path you choose through perimenopause and menopause. If you choose to go on hormone replacement therapy, if you choose to not go on hormone replacement therapy, it doesn't matter. The herbs are going to support you regardless.
Yeah.
I feel like as women and womb owners, we have to choose one or the other, and then
Uh-huh.
we can't socialize with each other. You're either the HRT women or you're the I don't like to use natural, but you're just going through it without medicinal,
Sure.
like pharmaceutical support. So what I really like to do is just bring it all of us together in our experience working with herbs in either prescription form or ceremony plant spirit journeys.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, for those who might not be aware of why is perimenopause, and menopause like a storm? What's actually going on?
Yeah. Well, I think what we need to understand is that because our hormones are changing, so mainly our estrogen and progesterone are changing, the levels are going up and down before they settle into the new lower normal. We often think about menopause as a cessation of our menstrual cycle. We're no longer bleeding, okay? But what people I really like to educate people on is these hormones are used by the body from top to toe. There is no part of the male and female body actually that don't work with these hormones. And so when you have something like estrogen fluctuating, now estrogen is our hormone of forgetting. It helps us to be softer. It helps us to be caregivers. It helps us to, go back to the child that said, "I hate you," and keep going back and loving them. But when
Mhm.
that starts to dip, suddenly you remember, oh, wait a minute, this is who I am. And that can be really disorientating. So in early and mid perimenopause, it's about up to 10 years before your final period, these hormones, we know there's no discernible pattern. It's not like the monthly bleed that we would get beforehand. The monthly bleed might not be pleasant, but at least we could predict. At least we knew might feel a little bit crappy the week before our period, but with perimenopause, there's this changing of ratios, and so every part of our body's trying to adapt to the new normal, and it can be really disorientating.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm. So what are some of the main herbs that you found helpful for this transition?
Yeah. So there's a couple. I think for mood-based, especially the rage, the that intensity, I love St. John's wort. St. John's
Mm.
wort and motherwort are just so wonderful for me at helping to support women through that intensity. I love red clover.
Mhm.
I love lemon balm. I love horsetail for the collagen, for the joints, rosemary again for that anti-inflammatory. Because when estrogen drops, estrogens we know is anti-inflammatory. So when our estrogens drop in, all of those sort of weak, inflamed areas are going to become more pronounced, more inflamed. So working with that, what else I like to work with? Oh, nettle seed. I love nettle seeds. I work a lot with women at this point. We work on their stress response system because we know when the ovaries start to wind down the production of hormones, the adrenals take over somewhat. But they're not multitaskers, right? They can't do both cortisol, stress, and these progesterone and estrogen. So we work on supporting the adrenal glands, and nettle seed, because it's abundant, it's like nature's multivitamin and mineral, high in essential fatty acids, and it's really free. Like, who doesn't have nettles growing? That is probably my key ally for perimenopause. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. So are the nettle seeds just supporting the mineral content, or are they also like working on the hormonal level?
So they're supporting the mineral, but they're also adaptogenic. They're deeply supportive of the adrenal glands. They're mildly energizing. So we're going to work with them in the morning rather than later at night, unless you've got a party to go to. Or
Sure. Then
maybe, I don't know, if you want a
yeah.
little pep in your step later in the afternoon, you can work with
Yeah.
nettle seeds. And we only need a small amount for a big impact. We're talking like half a teaspoon at most. And if nettle seeds are teeny tiny little
Mhm.
seeds. I work with them fresh and dried. But you've got the mineral, you've got the iron, you've got the real anti-inflammatory action, you've got the adrenal support. Yeah, and
All right.
obviously we work with the leaves as well. But for me, because it's nettle seed time, the nettle
Mm.
seeds are everywhere, and my fingers are still tingling because we were talking about them this morning on the workshop. Nettle seeds are the front of my attention right now.
Yeah.
And so the
Yeah,
nettle seeds you mainly use in the whole form of the seed rather
yeah,
than tincture or
yeah,
some other extract. Okay.
yeah, yeah. I'll use the nettle seed in tea, but I feel like I love to bring medicine into food, into daily life. Like, how can we weave these things in easily?
Yeah.
So it's just like sprinkling your pepitas or your sunflower seeds on your salad. We do that with the nettle seeds as well. And it's
Mhm.
super quick. It's literally back in the pantry. You don't
Yeah.
need to think about it. And you pay a fortune for essential fatty acids and multivitamin and multimineral. I have nothing against those. I will prescribe them where necessary, but we can get it through food too.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
such a great way to incorporate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't mind a little bit of stings on your fingers, you can get them for basically free.
Yeah.
Right. And do you know what was really interesting? When they put out seeds, the sting is way less. I don't know what you've experienced,
Yeah.
but the energy is no longer in the leaf. The energy is in the seed. And
Oh.
how I harvest them is I hold the top gently, and there's no stings at the top. You snip
Mhm.
it off just above the last sort of, yellowy, like crinkly, sort of damaged leaves. You take the whole stem home, and then you gently just snip the strings off and dry them. You compost your stem and your leaves at this time of the year. But yeah, there's something really quite nice about being reminded after the event. You know, your fingers will start to tingle later on in the evening, and you're just like, ah, hey
I
Nettle,
know. I love that.
nice to see you, Nettle. This is a nice.
Yeah.
For me, it lasts for days. I don't know how
Yeah.
long it lasts for y'all, but I'm like
And
a couple of days, and I'm still feeling those tingles.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I do like that. We're definitely herbalists because we're like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, we love the sting. Like 2 days later, we're like, hey, what's up, Nettle?
totally.
Yeah.
I think that's also good intuitively, like to just like be cutting back the plant, rather than just taking the seed, you're cutting back the dead growth, and that might encourage another
Fresh.
plus.
Often, yeah, if you do it early enough in the seed season, you'll get more growth through.
Yeah,
And then when you get the fresh growth without the flowers, then you can work with the leaves too. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Very cool. Love that.
Yeah, nettle is such a powerhouse.
Yeah.
The the most important plants, I think, in
Right.
Hmm.
What
that.
was it? Was it
So,
David Hoffman that said, if in doubt, just give nettle?
yeah.
Like, if you don't
I
know what to give
I
a
know.
person, just give
There's
them
something to be
nettle.
said about that. I had a long-standing health issue that had really nothing to do with nettle,
Yeah.
like as far as like the healing remedies that I would think about for it. And drinking nettle tea every day was what someone recommended for me, and it just set me back on my path.
Yeah.
It set me straight. So it's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and there's this herbalist that we're going to be interviewing in October, Kathy Skipper, who works with people in perimenopause. And I went to one of her free classes recently on perimenopause with another herbalist, April Coburn, who does like a 5-week course on it. And she described the different phases of uh, a woman's cycle, or, people with womb cycle of like, there's the maiden, mother, crone. And she is inserting another stage there, which is maiden, mother, sovereign woman, and crone.
Yes. Yeah.
So that, because I mean, it's so true. It's like maybe in the past we just skipped right from, being a mother to a crone, but there's this
Yeah.
whole other chunk of like 20 years of a woman's life
Yeah.
before they become crone, where it's like
I'm like, how did I
in
miss?
your
Did I blink and suddenly I'm like, if I am blessed to live that long, I will be happy to be a crone. But
exactly.
there's
But you're
something
not there yet.
I'm not there yet. I love that. What was the term? Sovereign woman.
Sovereign woman.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So sovereign person.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you're really stepping into this new cycle of your life where you can really pursue different interests and
Yes.
figure out who you are again. It's like kind of like when you're going through puberty and all your hormones are changing, but it's at this other stage of your life when you have a lot more wisdom than when you were a teen.
It's just so beautiful. Like I really describe it as when you go through puberty and your estrogen comes online, you sort of forget who you are a little bit
Yeah,
because estrogen's
exactly.
the hormone of forgetting. And then when that starts to dip, when you start to remember who you were, oh wait, I can do this. I took up skateboarding. I'm now a skateboarder. I will drop in on 6 foot ramps or try to drop in on 6 foot ramps.
Okay,
5 foot is
okay.
my comfortable.
All
But
right.
I no longer care about
Yeah.
other people's expectations. And I think that's what perimenopause has given me. It's burnt away some of that, you know, the
Yeah.
mask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Love
like
that.
that also too from I practice Vedic astrology and we have these nice Sargaka dashas or the natural time periods and like so the moon time period is when you're with your mother when you're and then
Yeah.
Mars is when you start like crawling, walking, then
Hmm.
Mercury is when you start talking and learning,
Hmm.
and then Venus is when you know puberty. So
Yeah.
and then Jupiter is like age 32 when you start like focusing on the career more and on the family on that side. And then the sun is at age 50, from age 50 to age 70. And then it's not until age 70 that it's Saturn and you're in your elderly time period. That's 70,
Mhm.
75, past that. But there's that whole sun period. That is a really,
It's like
and
the
that's,
perimenopause, menopause.
Yeah.
yeah, and that is like the ruler. The sun is the king or the queen.
Right.
It's the ruler.
Yeah.
I like the sovereign thing there too.
Sovereign person. Yeah.
But yeah, it's when you're in your the height of your power because you're not like
You're not diminished, right? You're the,
yeah.
the sun. You're the literal sun. Yeah, I love that. I've got goosebumps.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So cool.
So I'm also interested in because you were talking about there's the path of taking hormone replacement therapy and then there's the path of not doing that. How do you is there a way to work with herbs to kind of like bridge the gap, or like, um, yeah, what herbs do you use to work with people who want to not do the HRT but still have some mediation or
Yeah.
mitigation?
Yeah, no, no, I get, I think I get what you're trying to say. For me, it really comes down to the basic fundamentals of what it is to be a herbalist. It's like, okay, what things are getting in the way of your body producing their own natural progesterones and estrogen? Because we're told that we don't produce any progesterone after a certain age. We actually do. It's a very small amount, but we do still produce some. So for me, I'm working with herbs that primarily support the stress response system, the HPA axis, so that the stress response system is not having to continually focus on fighting fires and producing cortisol. It's able to then produce the estrogen that's going to somewhat take over from the estrogen that your ovaries were producing. Making sure that your digestive system's working well, that when the estrogen that you do have is packaged properly and excreted. So it's the fundamentals. It's working with digestion. It's working with the HPA axis. It's working with what is driving your current health issues, what is getting in the way of your body producing their own natural estrogen and progesterone. And for me, that's really that window of opportunity that exists when our hormones are fluctuating and changing, that can we can really affect the biggest changes. Yeah.
Okay. So, but you're not working with herbs. There aren't herbs that are gonna create more progesterone. Or
Not that I'm aware of. There are herbs we know that are kind of estrogenic-ish in action, but there is no direct progesterone analogues in nature. We
Yeah.
just try and support our body to produce what it can and get out of the way of that process.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense of trying to get out of that cycle of being in the cortisol.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. Very cool.
And it's kind of just like how we work with any health issue.
Yeah.
Like just like if we get out of the way, our bodies are designed to heal. That's just what we're designed to do. And so
hmm
when we start to remove the roadblocks to that, the body just sort of returns to balance. It doesn't always look like the balance you want. There are some chronic health issues that we can't, get rid of, so to speak. But there are many things that we can affect change through by working on this fundamental level. And I think because it's not very sexy, people are like, I don't know if I want to work on digestion or if I want to work on my stress response system. And I'm like, hey, you're going to feel sexy after this. So
Yeah.
just lean into that discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
right.
There's something else about this particular sovereign person age bracket that I wonder if you've noticed too, of like kind of stepping into a more spiritual view of the world. Like maybe after you've done the jobs, the raising your children, you can kind of step back and see a bigger picture. So are you noticing that the clients that you work with have a deeper connection to the plant spirit side of the medicine?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting because people will come to me for physical health issues. But what really fun women and people with wombs and midlife onwards, but what really fascinates them is the
Yeah.
spiritual aspect.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that's what really lights them on fire. That's what really puts a pep in their step.
Yeah.
Oh, that all of this exists around us. It's here. And it's completely free. The spirit medicine doesn't cost a dime. And so,
hmm
absolutely, AC, I do see that in women, that excitement for something more. I think we need something more when we've gone through so much and given so much.
Yeah.
We need something
Right.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like certain plants that step up to meet women at that stage more than others. Or do you find that like certain plants like are more willing to help people through that transition? Like I'm thinking about elder for some reason because
Yeah.
they're powerful.
Yeah. So there's a few for me, and there's a few key transition herbs. So
Uh-huh.
primrose, Primula vulgaris.
Okay.
Cowslip is kind of similar, Primula veris. They are a key transition herb. They're a threshold herb. So it's like going through puberty or having a baby, birthing a new project, moving house, these herbs help to first off open the door. And then I think about it like a little gentle push or sometimes it's not as gentle. Sometimes it's more firm on
Little
your path.
shove.
Like the oak tree that shoved me onto my path in my
Yeah.
30s. So
Uh-huh.
Primrose for me, Primrose is just, it's a delightful medicine. It is a forgotten medicine, but it is a key ally. And Primrose is joy. Primrose is self-love. Primrose is just accepting that good things can happen,
Hmm.
especially for people who have foreboding joy. They're like, things are good, but
Yes.
I work with Primrose for that.
Hmm.
Eldar, again, that's another one. But probably the other one is yarrow,
Hmm.
Achillea milfolium,
Mhm.
a premium transition herb. And I work with yarrow a lot in people who are going through puberty. Just helps them to make sense of their experience. And again, with women and women owners and midlife onwards, yarrow is another, for me, transition herb.
Mm.
It helps to open the door and push us through it. Yeah.
I'm struck by you said with the primrose it's helpful for foreboding joy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is not something I've heard before, but I have experienced that. What an interesting, yeah, that's such a powerful wording. What do you think's going
Mhm.
on with that foreboding joy?
I don't have the answer to that question. I experience it in myself sometimes, and it's almost like we don't allow ourselves to fully believe that things are always going to be okay. I think, it partly comes from trauma, from conditioning, from ancestral ways of being. And, I don't know what it's like where you all live, but in Scotland, we're like, we've been through a lot. We've been through famine, clearances. We don't know if tomorrow's going to be the way we want it to be. And so it's
Yeah,
hard to fully embrace joy and not think, but,
Yeah,
right.
but what's around the corner?
I know.
Yeah.
So real.
It's like almost too good.
That's it. Too good. So Primrose is for the people who think life is too good right now. This surely can't, like, take Primrose, work with
Okay.
Primrose. Now, Primrose is endangered. We can't harvest it from the wild, but we can work really effectively. I find with the flower essence, I make
Mhm.
Primrose flower essence. I don't actually feel the need for the physical medicine for Primrose. It's
Sweet.
so delightfully potent as a flower essence. Or I've had some really big changes through myself and through clients by sitting and drawing the plant and just
Mm,
asking for medicine that way. There's so many
Oh,
different ways into medicine. We tend to think about
yeah.
teas, tinctures, even topical things, but for me, I like to expand that slightly. I'm like, what else can be medicine? And sitting with the plant for me is key. It's just key
yeah.
medicine. Yeah.
Yeah, just I mean, you sitting under the oak like that
Yeah.
opened such a big doorway for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just sitting where I guess also for a primrose, if it's endangered, might be a good one to grow too.
Exactly. If you can grow primrose, they are so beautiful. The little yellow flowers. I think of them like just this little plump brown lady, just like laughing, just
Yeah.
bringing this like softness.
Oh,
But I think sometimes people mistake softness for weakness, but it's not. It's that soft strength, that's that vulnerability, but also courage. It's such a beautiful plant. But I have found that people get a bit confused because of the Latin naming, because cowslip is Primula veris and primrose is Primula vulgaris. So vulgaris just means very common, lots of them. But I have found if you only have cowslip, the medicine is very similar.
oh,
It's
really?
very similar, yeah, in my experience, both the physical and the sort of magical spiritual medicine.
Hmm,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah. Do we
Good.
have either of the?
No,
We have
no.
like evening primrose,
Yeah,
but
that's
that's
not.
different.
No.
It still has pretty little yellow flowers.
And
Yeah,
it
it's a much
smells
bigger
amazing,
plant.
right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to get some seeds of
Yeah,
that.
let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
love it in woodland. They love woodland.
Okay.
Okay.
They love trees. And they for some reason they love like banks,
Okay.
a bit like golden seal maybe. Like they like drawing
Oh.
on a
Uh-huh.
gradient. Yeah.
Okay. Great. We have some of that.
Yeah, maybe there's places for their seeds to like some bare earth for their seeds to
Yeah.
sprout.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
would love to see that if you all could send some photos of your primrose
Oh,
flower.
we don't. Well, yeah, once they're growing, well,
Yeah, we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
have any, but Yet.
yet.
Yet. Yeah.
Yes. Very cool.
Well, yeah. So, uh, before we wrap up, are there any, last words, or and also how can people get in touch with you, see what you're doing?
Yeah. So you can find me on my website, wendydooner.com. That's you can find all my courses, where to buy my book, how to book consultations. I'm also on Instagram. I share a ton of content on there, free content on working with herbs physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And that's wendy.plantspiritherbalist. For those of you who don't understand the accent, I'm sure it'll be in the show notes.
Yes.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
got you. We got you.
Yeah, and I think the last help plants help us remember who we are. They
Yeah.
really help us to remember beneath the masks and the stories that we've been told or we tell ourselves. They really help to bring us home. Yeah.
Mm,
yeah. I
thank
like
you for
that.
that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Wendy.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Oh, thank you. What a fabulous end to my day because it's the end of the day here in the
Yeah.
UK. I'm about to go and have my evening meal. Such a pleasant way to spend time with two amazing fellow herbalists. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Wendy, and enjoy your night. And we'll talk again soon sometime, I hope.
Thank you.